Greetings and welcome. My name is Tealeaf, and today I would like to talk a little bit about tarot decks. There is such a wide range of decks that are out there right now. I mean, I myself have like 70 decks, but there is the traditional tarot deck with the major and the minor arcana, and that dates back hundreds of years, okay? Then you have the oracle decks, and oracle decks can be really nice and fun and easier. Like this one here. Absolutely love this one, Shadows of Light, and it's done by Lucy Cavendish. Love her work. Everything. You have to have seen her artwork throughout so many different things. I have a couple of her decks actually, but they are just, you'll recognize the characters. They are the big eyes and the beautiful little faces. They are so amazing, and they are absolutely gorgeous, are they not? But you have all these different decks that they've got out now that are systematically usable because, well, the energy and the wisdom comes from within and from the spirits around you, the energy around you. So it's the imagery on these cards that make it really cool and easier to read. But you also have decks like the Supernatural Tarot deck, which I do have. I'm guilty. And, you know, like the different ones for different things, like Night Before Christmas Tarot deck. You also have decks that have like all about stones. So each card is a specific stone and the meaning, and it gives you so much to go by for the reading. They also have herbal decks like that. And you have the amazing pagan decks, witches decks, that are completely a complete overhaul, where you have like the altar, the broom, the chalice, the crossroads, etc., etc., etc. And it's absolutely gorgeous. The artworks are so beautiful. I mean, you've got so much going on these things, and there's so much imagery magic to work with, that when you're doing a reading and the energy is flowing through, it really is amazing at how easy it assists you and makes your job so much easier. So much easier. And like I said, I do have a lot of decks, and I've only purchased like 4 of my own, and all the other ones were gifts. And the thing is, for every reading I do, I'll go and feel the energy, and oh, I'm using this deck today. Oh, I'm using that deck today. One of my favorite decks is the Rider deck that my mom bought me when I was like 16. So I've got this deck, 57 now, but I've got this deck I've had all these years that I treasure because it was from my mom. I've used it the most, and one of the reasons that I even treasured even more was my mom had Alzheimer's, and about 4 days before she passed, I had brought my tarot deck to the nursing home, and she took it from me, laid out the cards, did a reading for me as if it was 30 years before, okay? Like, that's how good she was. And when she was done the reading, she handed me the deck again, and she'd been holding it for so long. And to this day, that deck, I only use that deck to connect with her. That's one of my ways of communicating. And she comes through in wisdom to me, and I convey to her what I need and ask her questions through this deck. That's one of my favorite things, is the connections that you make with these decks. With whom? When I was in my 20s, my nieces were really big on anti-tam, and they gave me one year a crystal ball for Christmas. And they didn't express to their dad. They just went out and got it. And hoped I would love it. I did. I still do. And I've used that to connect with them so that I know they're okay. But all these different techniques that you use, there's so many different methods and so many different ways. You have some decks that are literally, they've got lists on them of what they're for. I mean, there are some decks I refuse to get because they have this screaming Tarot for Dummies book written all over them, because that's what it sounds like. It's for somebody who doesn't want to open up enough to feel it. But it's also probably better than carrying around 10 books, because you're not doing a reading if you're sitting there reading all the books all day long. But there's so many different things to work with. I mean, a lot of people use pendulums and Tealeaf reading. My great-grandmother used to love doing Tealeaf readings. In the back, they had a general store, and in the back of the store, along the back wall, she had a whole bunch of jars of herbs. She had a round table set up that she would do Tealeaf readings at. This is my great-grandma, Great Mimi. And she would mix together different herbal remedies for migraines, or for somebody who had a cold or the flu, or nausea, whatever. She did whatever she could. Somebody who couldn't sleep, she had teas for it. She would make decoctions of all different types. And her go-to was Tealeaf reading. My meme, it was tarot all the way. She loved tarot. Everything about tarot. My mom, she loved reading the tarot cards. But at the same time, she really, really loved working with stones and working with bones. So she had a bunch of stuff that she would gather, and then she would just kind of flip it down, and then she would look at it and see where everything landed and where everything meant to her, and she would interpret it and she would express it. And people would look at her like she was insane. She had like animal bones all over the place. But these were bones that were gathered. I mean, most of my family lived on farms, right? So most of these bones were from things that were butchered for food. So, or if she went to a butcher and she said, okay, I want this, this, and this. Oh, by the way, do you have any extra bones? And she would bring them home. She would mark them with different things, meanings, sigils, and she would gather over time a whole bunch of stuff. I have a bag of bones too, just like my mama. And my meme was into table tapping and seances, and my mom was into Ouija boards. She really loved using them. So spirit connection, scrying, I grew up with all that. That was a common denominator in my home. It was normal. And now there's so many ways and so many things that you can literally go, okay, I want to use this, or I want to use that, or I want to do this, I want to do that. And you've got so many different aspects that you can utilize, from palmistry to tarot to everything. There's so many things now that you can pull in and use. So, like I said, one of the things that I'd love to do is let you know that if it feels good to you and you go into the store and it feels really good, get it. If you don't want to be the one to purchase it because you've heard that's bad luck or some silly nonsense, then let your family or friends know that this is the specific deck that you would like one day. I didn't even have to do that. They just showed up. You would not believe the different types of decks I've got. One of these days, I'll go through them with you, and we'll sit down and we'll discuss them. But if you're gonna start out with a beginner deck, the Rider deck is one of the best. I would start with a traditional tarot deck with the major and minor arcana. Go through them, get connected to them, hold them, put them under your pillow, make sure that you've got them wrapped up in a cloth and in a bag, and I don't mean a plastic bag, I mean something handmade, something that you can utilize and use, but enjoy them, enjoy everything about them. Like, I make tarot bags, I make rune bags, and this is one of the ones that I made for one of my decks. And it's just a basic bag. It's lined. It's all hand done. The embroidery is hand done. I do that. And it's a lot of fun. So enjoy. My doggy's got to go out. So you have a good day. Click like and subscribe. And we'll talk more tomorrow. Blessed be.